Hi, my name is Mark Stenberg, and I'm at the moment. I think covering that trend from a bunch of different angles, specifically podcasting, streaming, and media, and what creators are doing to up in that space, I think is one of the more interesting trends. My career started back in Austin. I was a recent graduate from the University of Texas. I got a job running a media startup, is what I call it when I'm trying to be professional. Really, it was an old magazine that was looking to be reinvented. It basically catered to college students and worked with college students, and I became the editor-in-chief of that for about 4.5 years. It was a really great experience because it was a small operation, so I got really hands-on with the business of running a media company. And as a result of that, I got really interested in why the media business makes no money. And that sent me to grad school in Chicago for about 2 years at Northwestern. After that, I came out to New York for a job, first at Business Insider, and for the last 5 years, I've been at Adweek, reporting on the media industry. So that is how I got here. So it is June, so Adweek is laser focused on Cannes Lion, which is coming up in a few weeks. So that is a big push and focus of ours. I'll be going along with some of the other editorial team. We'll have a big event staff there. Adweek basically sort of sets up camp at the Majestic Hotel, where we do a variety of programming, basically day and night, starting with breakfast, shooting podcasts, doing panels and programming. In the evening, we do, soirees and different parties celebrating some of the awards that we give away. The editorial staff really doesn't get to be too much a part of that. They really send us out across the croisette, I should say, setting up a bunch of one-on-ones, doing interviews, occasionally making our way into yachts, but for the most part, just a series of coffees and rosés. So that's exciting. It's a really big push. It's a big moment for coverage because obviously a lot of companies have announcements that they want to sort of debut in or around Cannes, so we get to break a lot of news. But primarily we, as reporters, look at it as a sourcing opportunity, ideally to speak to people that aren't in New York already. I think, back when I was in grad school, we used to talk about traditional media has to downsize or right size, and independent and startup media has to get bigger, and at some point they'll meet in the middle. I think for the last few years, independent media and creators have been small, relevant, but getting bigger in prominence. And we see that on Substack, we see that on YouTube, we see that on all these different platforms. I think this year really marked a coming out moment for a lot of independent media, where whether a YouTube creator like Kane Parsons, who's the 20-year-old director of Backrooms, this film that's just, broken all these Hollywood records, or you're an Emily Sundberg at, on Substack or whatever the case is, we're starting to see that an independent creator who's talented and has a personality and a point of view can build up an audience, attach revenue to that, hire out a staff, and basically build a media company from the ground up. I think covering that trend from a bunch of different angles, specifically podcasting, streaming, and media, and what creators are doing to up in that space, I think is one of the more interesting trends. On Background, my free weekly media newsletter comes out Wednesday evenings at 7 o'clock. One of the reasons I got this job at Adweek was I used to have a Substack, a personal Substack, that I really did pretty full-time during the pandemic on top of my other job. And I think that showcased my ability to write on a consistent basis without heavy editing and, underscoring my expertise in the media industry. So as Adweek has kind of followed suit with a lot of the broader media trends and said, we need to focus more on individual creators, we need to focus more on newsletters, on podcasts, on those kinds of media that are a little bit differentiated from the open web, they naturally came to me and offered me the opportunity to be kind of the first guinea pig of a new kind of newsletter that Adweek was doing, which is sort of a blend of a Substack and a more standard article distribution type newsletter. So it's meant to be voicier. It's a little bit more personal. I start off every newsletter with a little bit about what I was doing that week, anything I attended or saw or people I met, etc. And then it has basically a large feature piece in it, as well as some other stories maybe I've written, some other stories I've seen across the week that I think would be relevant to anyone in the industry, notable quotes. I do a Q&A with a prominent figure. So it's been alive for about 7 months now, so we are still learning. Maybe to my surprise, one of the things that everybody really says that they love is the personal element. So having the newsletter is a really great opportunity to say, this is the main thing this week that everybody should know about, and you know that it reaches them. And that's something as a reporter, obviously you love. I think that young Mark, if he were less wed to writing and more open to telling stories in any medium, I think he would realize more quickly that that is half of the enjoyment, and that journalism, even with writing being not the predominant emphasis, would still be fun. And that I think had I realized that earlier in my career, I might be a little farther ahead. But I love writing. Hopefully it's around for forever in some form or fashion. But I think being more open to other means of storytelling would have been a nice little nugget to go back and deliver him early.